Who was most likely to improvise during the scene?
Sasha Cohen.
Right now, you look like Okay, come on, we got it.
I can understand why she's frustrated. That's how I feel watching her interviews.
How do you feel about the impact that she's having on young Black girls? And I'm going to be completely honest, on Black women.
You know, this is yet another area that's getting vibrant. It's getting full in the way that it should.
One major development going on now involves more to do with Dominique Thorne going off at the fans yet again in the midst of the Ironheart ratings disaster.
That is all ego. You would never find me with an ego like that. Not with my fallopian tubes.
Comes to the numbers. Spoiler alert. Kind of exactly what we expect. Ironheart ratings in the gutter.
Now, Thorne delivered the following in a desperate play to salvage the series. I think Marvel fans, she says, just need to take a step back and to stop focusing on our support for both diversity and LGBTQ and claiming that as some form of a hidden message.
Natalie AI thing seems utterly preposterous and ridiculous, and even for an MCU show, I'm finding it to be a little bit of a bridge too far to go. The Heist crew, all lame. Every single one of them, all lame.
And so in this, I'm not sure what they're meant to be, because this character isn't to be confused with Slug.
Slug, our hacker extraordinaire.
Who is also the exact opposite in the same show. I'm really confused.
Was a massive disappointment in the ratings for them, certainly. We do know, when you go and you look at through these charts, the first couple days it was out, because we have 3 days of Ironheart in these numbers, just like we had 3 days of Daredevil in these numbers. And Daredevil in those first 3 days had over 300 million minutes watched. So, and that was with less possible runtime than something like Ironheart. Yet we know that it hasn't matched that.
Now is that we know that Kevin Feige and Bob Iger, they're also engaging in damage control about this show, saying things like, don't trust the negative reviews, don't trust the trades, stuff like that.
Ironheart is the biggest L of Marvel of all time. The reactions are just spectacular. Supposedly smarter than Tony Stark, bites an electric wire, sells her soul to gain magic powers, uses new powers to steal. What did the writers mean by this? Smoke detector beeps.
And they were doing everything in their power to really prop up this show. That's exactly why they had RDJ, Robert Downey Jr., some weeks ago going on talk shows to really say that Riri is the best thing to the MCU to represent the legacy of Tony Stark.
They promised it would be the next big thing, a groundbreaking Marvel series centered on a genius-level teen who was supposed to carry the legacy of Iron Man into a new era. But instead, it tanked hard.
It deserves your attention. Ironheart deserves your attention. That's how I knew. I was like, oh, they are desperate to get people to watch this show. But after I did my reaction, I kept getting, hey, it wasn't that bad. I just watched it. Hey, I just watched the first 3 episodes. It wasn't that.
Marvel's Ironheart was hyped to the skies. The trailers, the promos, the early leaks, everything pointed towards something bold, something fresh. But once the show actually dropped, what followed wasn't excitement. It was silence, disappointment, and then outrage.
Not only is she incredibly controlling, but she's a bitch about it to everybody who works for her when things inevitably start spiraling.
Oh my God. She is so full of it.
This is not.
Critics didn't just dislike it, they tore it apart. Fans, especially longtime MCU supporters, couldn't believe what they were watching. It was being called the most forgettable Marvel project in years. Memes flooded Twitter. Rotten Tomatoes scores dipped embarrassingly low. Viewership dropped episode by episode. Something clearly went very wrong.
Ironheart might be one of the worst executed ideas ever in the MCU, because under all that garbage was actually potential.
And then came Sacha Cohen, known for transforming into bizarre, wild, unforgettable characters. He was Marvel's secret weapon, cast to play none other than the long-rumored villain Mephisto. But instead of becoming the surprise savior of the show, Sasha became something else entirely. He became the voice of blame. In a shocking behind-the-scenes fallout, Sasha pointed fingers, and fans quickly zeroed in on one person, Dominique Thorne, the actress behind Riri Williams. The same actress once hailed as Marvel's next rising star was now in the eye of a storm, emotional, silent, and publicly unraveling.
How do you feel about the impact that she's having on young Black girls? And I'm going to be completely honest, on Black women.
You know, this is yet another area that's getting vibrant. It's getting full in the way that it should.
So what really happened with Ironheart? Why did Sacha Cohen take aim at Dominique? And is this the end of Riri Williams in the MCU? Let's unravel everything.
Yeah, and it's like the real Tony Stark. It's like back somehow. And there's like a moment where she's flying through and he's like, who is that? And she's like, I'm Ironheart, Mr. Stark. And he's like, I like that girl. And then he like goes to do something else. Like that would be like the level of something that I think would possibly happen.
When Marvel first teased Ironheart, fans were optimistic. Riri Williams had made her debut in Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. And while opinions on her introduction were mixed, there was a general sense that a solo series could give her more room to shine. The MCU needed new blood, and Ironheart, a young black female genius, seemed like a smart, progressive step forward. But once Ironheart aired, all that promise came crashing down.
There is also way too much focus on the LGBTQ community by the fandom in a negative manner, and it just needs to go away, I think, for a healthy story to grow, and for Riri to really share her limelight with...
The first episode was shaky. Critics said it lacked direction and tone. Some called the pacing sluggish, while others slammed the dialogue as cringe-inducing. Still, fans held on. Maybe it was just a rough start. But as episodes continued, it became clear this wasn't building toward anything special. It was falling apart in real time. Plot lines felt stitched together. Emotional beats didn't land. Action scenes were few and far between. And when they did show up, they felt generic, almost rushed. What was supposed to be a show about brilliance, tech innovation, and the clash of ideals ended up being a mess. Dominique Thorne's performance didn't help. What critics called low energy and disconnected became a running joke online. In Reddit threads and reaction videos, fans said it looked like she was either bored or confused half the time. And the more the show leaned on her to carry entire scenes, the worse it got. Even the show's visuals, normally a Marvel strong suit, were disappointing. The Ironheart suit looked cheap, unfinished, and strangely out of place. Audiences expected a sleek, high-tech evolution of Tony Stark's legacy. Instead, what they got looked like a cosplay experiment gone wrong. But the real blow came in the numbers. Streaming figures plummeted after episode 3. Marvel stopped promoting the show on their official channels. Toy and merch tie-ins were scrapped mid-campaign. Insiders reported that executives were disappointed and concerned about the brand impact. One anonymous source even said that Disney higher-ups were already talking about canceling season 2 quietly, without any formal announcement. And in the middle of it all, Dominique, not just the face of the show, but now the lightning rod for every critique, meme, and meltdown. The narrative started shifting quickly, from "this show is bad" to Dominique Thorne ruined Ironheart. But she wasn't the only one feeling the heat, because someone else, someone who'd kept quiet until now, was about to make headlines of his own. For years, fans had been obsessed with one theory: Mephisto is coming. Every Marvel show, WandaVision, Loki, Multiverse of Madness, sparked rumors that Mephisto, the devil-like villain from the comics, was secretly pulling the strings. And when reports leaked that Sacha Baron Cohen had been cast in Ironheart, the hype exploded. Finally, the fan theory was coming true, and with someone like Sacha in the role, expectations skyrocketed. But here's the twist: most of his scenes never aired. When Ironheart premiered, fans were stunned to see that Mephisto was barely there. A few cryptic lines, some shadowy references, and then nothing. No full reveal, no epic showdown, just a tease. So what happened? According to multiple behind-the-scenes sources, Sasha's performance was incredible. Dark, twisted, charismatic, but the showrunners didn't know what to do with it. The tone of Ironheart had shifted so many times during production that Mephisto no longer fit. Executives reportedly wanted a more grounded story, and Sasha's sinister energy was just too much. So they suppressed it, cut his scenes, watered down his role, stripped the show of its most compelling subplot. And Sacha? He wasn't happy. In a recent podcast appearance, he let the mask slip. He didn't name names, but he didn't have to. Sometimes, he said, you do your job, you bring something bold, and then it just gets buried. Because not everyone can rise to the same level, and the project sinks. The hosts laughed it off, but fans didn't miss the subtext. It was a direct shot, and everyone knew who he meant. Later, a leaked interview outtake showed Sacha going even further, saying there was talent on that set, but not where it mattered. And when asked if he'd return to the MCU, he smirked and said, only if they clean house. Ouch. Sacha, by all accounts, poured himself into Mephisto. He filmed intense scenes, long monologues, and had a full arc planned out, but it never saw the light of day. And rather than defend the show, he subtly turned the conversation toward accountability. One actor showed up ready to deliver, the other, in his eyes, didn't. And with that, the slow collapse of Dominique Thorne's public image began to accelerate. Long before the cameras rolled, insiders were already worried. From early table reads, whispers started spreading. Dominique Thorne wasn't ready. She had just come off Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, a film where her character had limited screen time and wasn't asked to carry emotional weight. But now, she was the lead, the heart of the show, and the entire series was built around her ability to pull viewers in. Behind Behind the scenes, multiple sources say it quickly became obvious that Dominique was struggling. According to a former production assistant who spoke anonymously, the vibe on set was tense. She just wasn't connecting, the PA said. Lines would be forgotten. Emotional scenes had to be reshot multiple times. The directors tried different approaches, but it felt like she was either overthinking it or completely lost in the role. Marvel Productions are known for running like well-oiled machines, but Ironheart kept falling behind schedule. One scene reportedly took 8 full takes just to get a single line delivered with the right energy. That's not normal. Not at Marvel. Not with Disney's tight budgets and timelines. Things got worse when the show entered its second phase of filming. Reshoots, a dirty word in Hollywood, became frequent. Schedules were shifted. Budgets stretched. And Dominique, she was caught in the middle. The bigger issue, though, was emotional depth. Several team members said Dominique struggled to show vulnerability. Riri Williams, on paper, is a genius torn between responsibility and grief, a complex character with a lot of internal conflict. But Dominique's performance came off flat, robotic, and disconnected. Fans weren't feeling the pain. They weren't feeling the genius. They weren't feeling anything. Even when working alongside strong supporting actors, her scenes lacked chemistry. Directors tried giving her monologues, tried pairing her with fan-favorite cameos, even tried off-script improv sessions to loosen her up, but nothing worked. Meanwhile, Sacha Cohen, even in limited shooting time, was turning heads. Crew members reportedly gathered behind monitors to watch his takes. He delivered menace, humor, intensity, all in a single breath. Compared to that, Dominique's stiffness stood out even more. One Marvel producer, during a leaked Zoom call, said bluntly, "We may have cast the wrong lead, and now we're too far in to fix it." But perhaps the most telling sign was how Dominique herself began to withdraw. People close to the production say she started skipping post-wrap hangouts. She kept her headphones in between takes. She avoided feedback unless it came directly from the director. What started as a promising opportunity slowly turned into an isolating, exhausting experience. It wasn't just pressure anymore, it was breakdown territory, and it didn't take long for the cracks to show, not just on set, but in front of the entire world. The press tour was supposed to be her redemption. After months of silence, delays, and negative buzz, Marvel pushed Ironheart into the spotlight. Interviews were scheduled, cast panels were organized, the media machine kicked into overdrive, and Dominique, she had to step up, smile, and sell the show, even as the criticism grew louder. But from her very first interview, something felt off. In an appearance on a popular YouTube channel, fans noticed how nervous she seemed. Her answers were clipped, her smile faded quickly between questions. When the host jokingly asked if she was ready to take over for Iron Man, Dominique forced a laugh, and then went silent for a full 3 seconds before answering. Clips of that moment went viral within hours, and they weren't kind. Twitter users dubbed it the most awkward Marvel interview ever. TikTokers used it to meme her as Riri the robot. The floodgates opened, and suddenly Dominique was being roasted relentlessly, not for her acting, but for her presence. She didn't look confident. She didn't look excited. She looked like she wanted to disappear. But the real breaking point came during a Q&A panel at a fan convention. The event had been going smoothly until a fan stood up and asked a blunt, unfiltered question. "How does it feel knowing Ironheart flopped and people are calling you the worst casting since the Inhumans?" Gasps filled the room. The moderator froze. Sacha Cohen, who was seated beside her, looked over, but didn't say a word. Dominique tried to answer. She opened her mouth, closed it, tried again, and then it happened. Her eyes welled up, her voice cracked, and in front of a live audience, she said, "I tried. I really did. I gave everything I had, and I don't know what else I could have done." The room went silent. That clip would end up trending for 3 straight days. Dominique Thorne trended on X. Fans were split. Some felt deep sympathy. Others doubled down on their criticism. But one thing was clear. Dominique was crumbling under the pressure. Sasha's reaction didn't help either. He remained calm, composed, and slightly detached. In post-panel interviews, he gave subtle quotes like, "You never know how a project's going to turn out. All you can do is bring your best and hope the people around you do the same." Another jab? Maybe. But intentional or not, the damage was done. After that panel, Dominique reportedly went radio silent. Her Instagram account was wiped clean. Her publicist refused further interviews. And Marvel? They pivoted hard, removing Dominique from future promotional materials and scrapping her appearance at D23. It was a complete collapse. Public image, fan trust, industry momentum, all gone in the span of one savage press run. And as the dust settled, fans started to wonder, was this really all Dominique's fault? Or was there more going on behind the curtain? Up until now, Sacha Cohen had kept quiet. While the Ironheart disaster unraveled in real time, he stayed out of the headlines. No statements, no tweets, no interviews, just silence. But when Dominique Thorne broke down publicly and fans started demanding answers, Sacha finally spoke up. And he didn't hold back. In a surprise appearance on a respected film podcast, Sacha joined the hosts to talk about his upcoming projects. Naturally, the topic turned toward Ironheart. The hosts danced around the controversy, but Sacha didn't. With his usual pale delivery, he leaned into the elephant in the room. "It's disappointing," he said. "You pour yourself into something. You bring a character to life. You show up every day ready to play your part in something bigger. But if the foundation is weak, it all collapses. Doesn't matter how solid your scene is, the house still falls." The tone was sharp, subtle, but unmistakable. He never mentioned Dominique by name, but there was no ambiguity. The message was clear. He had done his job. Others hadn't. The hosts pressed him about how much of his Mephisto arc was cut, and Sacha nodded with a tight smile. "A lot, more than people know. no. We had some incredible material, complex, weird, sinister stuff, but it didn't fit anymore. They changed the tone. And when the lead performance isn't anchoring things the way it needs to, well, the edges start falling apart first, and they cut around it. That quote alone triggered a media storm. Headlines exploded. Sasha throws shade at Ironheart lead. Sasha, the show collapsed from the inside. Baron Cohen breaks silence, and it's savage. It wasn't just what he said, it was how he said it. Calm, controlled, no anger, just quiet disappointment. That's what made it hit harder. It wasn't complaining, it was a final verdict. Later that week, leaked behind-the-scenes footage began to surface. In one video from the production set, Sasha is seen in full costume, red lighting, sharp prosthetics, delivering a monologue that was never shown in the final cut. The crew is audibly stunned after he finishes. One voice says, "That was chilling." Fans were furious that those scenes were scrapped, and the blame? It went straight back to Dominique. Comments on the leak read like a broken record. They really threw this away for her? Cohen was fire. What a waste. This could have saved the show. Why did they hide it? As Sasha's quiet critique made its way through fandoms and forums, it didn't just shift the conversation, it reshaped it. Suddenly, Dominique wasn't just a victim of internet hate. She was, in the eyes of many, the reason the show failed. But the online world wasn't done yet. What came next turned Ironheart's failure into a digital spectacle. Once Sasha's interview aired and the leaked footage dropped, it was like gasoline on a fire. Marvel fans, already irritated by the lackluster show, finally had a scapegoat. Dominique Thorne became public enemy #1. Reddit threads with thousands of upvotes picked apart every scene she was in. Users compared her delivery to AI voiceovers. A savage side-by-side video showed her reading emotional lines next to Sasha's cut footage with the caption, "This is why the show failed." On TikTok, creators reenacted her scenes as satire. One video, roasting her line delivery, hit 3 million views in just 2 days. Another featured the leaked Mephisto monologue over a dramatic black screen with the words, "This is what Marvel chose to throw away." Even casual fans started weighing in. Twitter became a war zone. Hashtags like #JusticeForMephisto and #ReplaceRiri started trending. Dominique's silence only made it worse. With no public statement to defend herself, people assumed guilt. But not everyone was on board. Some fans and industry voices came to Dominique's defense, blaming Marvel Studios for the mess. They argued that the script was weak from the start, the character of Riri Williams was poorly written, and Marvel threw a young actress into deep water without a life raft. But even those defenses didn't stop the hate. One major entertainment blog posted a headline that summed up the vibe perfectly. Dominique Thorne, the fall of Marvel's rising star. And while Dominique was being shredded online, Sasha? He was thriving. Clips from his interview trended positively. Memes praised his honesty. Fans demanded he get a standalone Mephisto series, or at least a major MCU comeback. Even people who hated Ironheart walked away saying, "At least Sasha was great." Marvel's own silence became deafening. No clarifications, no statements, nothing to soften the blow. Internally, there were rumors that the studio had made a decision. Ironheart Season 2 would be shelved indefinitely, and Dominique Thorne's future in the MCU was non-essential. Merchandising deals dried up. Collaborations disappeared. Her name was removed from upcoming cast announcements. It was a quiet cancellation, not with a bang, but with a slow fade into digital obscurity. But fans weren't done digging. Speculation began swirling about what really went wrong behind the scenes. And soon, fingers weren't just being pointed at Dominique, they were pointed at Marvel itself. As the controversy swirled and the fan base fractured, Marvel Studios did what it does best in a PR crisis. Absolutely nothing. No tweets, no press releases, no official statement on the Ironheart fallout. Marvel, usually quick to promote, correct, or tease its way through controversy, went completely silent. It was a tactic they'd used before. But this time, the silence felt louder. And that silence only fueled more speculation. Behind closed doors, reports began leaking out, and none of them painted a good picture. A senior Disney insider allegedly told a reporter that Ironheart was viewed internally as a non-recoverable asset. Another source claimed that Season 2 had been quietly removed from Marvel's internal slate, even though it had been announced a year earlier. In short, they were scrubbing the project from memory. Writers and junior creatives who had worked on the show were suddenly off other Marvel projects. Producers who pushed for Dominique's casting were moved to non-creative roles. A VFX team member even posted anonymously that entire episodes were being reevaluated for possible reuse in future projects. Not continuation, but recycling. Even more telling, Dominique Thorne's Marvel contract is now in question. Originally signed on for a multi-picture deal, insiders say her contract is being restructured, code for canceled or sidelined. She was removed from upcoming Disney Plus marketing materials. Her name was dropped from future multiverse-related crossover leaks. Even her presence at San Diego Comic-Con was noticeably erased. No panel, no shout-out, not even a name drop from her former co-stars. Marvel's silence has only one real meaning here. They've cut ties, quietly, cleanly, and permanently. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, Marvel has reportedly shifted its energy toward redeeming Mephisto, planning a possible standalone special presentation for Disney Plus, centered entirely around Sacha Baron Cohen's darker portrayal. One source called it Marvel's internal apology to fans. And yet, amid all of this chaos, the bigger question lingered. How did it get this far? A young actor actress thrown into the spotlight, unsupported. A critically acclaimed actor sidelined. A billion-dollar studio unable or unwilling to fix a project spiraling out of control. Marvel may have escaped the headlines, but to fans, the damage was already done. And what happens next? That's where things get even more unpredictable. For Dominique Thorne, the future is uncertain at best. In the aftermath of the Ironheart collapse, she's stayed completely offline. No interviews, no social posts, no fan engagement. Her team has issued no comments. And Hollywood, so far, it's been quiet. Casting agents are hesitant. Studios are cautious. While she's still technically under contract, it's an open secret that no one's calling her for lead roles right now. Some fans are pushing for her redemption, claiming Marvel failed her, not the other way around. But the machine has already moved on. She went from rising star to risk overnight, and the industry doesn't forget that easily. That said, Hollywood loves a comeback. And if Dominique can find the right role, something indie, something grounded, something away from the shadow of Marvel, she could still shift the narrative. But it won't be easy. Not after Ironheart, not after that breakdown, and not while Sasha's name is still trending. Because while Dominique's career hit pause, Sacha Baron Cohen's just leveled up. Once dismissed as a wild card casting, Sasha is now being hailed as the biggest missed opportunity in the MCU since Edward Norton's Hulk departure. Fans are demanding his Mephisto return in full form, not as a side plot, not as a tease, but as a central figure in the supernatural phase of the MCU. Marvel, sensing the buzz, has reportedly started talks to bring him back for a larger project, possibly tied to Blade, Agatha All Along, or even Doctor Strange 3. Early leaks suggest a darker, more mature Disney Plus special centered around Mephisto could drop within the next 18 months. And this time, Marvel's not going to bury his scenes. In fact, a recent article claimed the studio is giving Sacha creative freedom to shape the character, even possibly helping produce the project, a sign of major trust and a clear effort to rebuild what was lost. The irony? The same show that flopped, the same show that embarrassed Marvel, might be the very reason Sacha becomes the next fan-favorite villain. And Dominique, she might forever be remembered as the one who couldn't carry the weight of the suit. But here's the truth, no one's saying out loud. This wasn't just about one actress or one role. This was a system failure, one that exposed cracks in Marvel's casting process, storytelling structure, and risk management. And Dominique, she just happened to be standing in the middle when it all fell apart. So, is this the end of Dominique Thorne in the MCU, or the beginning of a redemption arc no one saw coming? Either way, one thing's for sure, Marvel fans won't forget Ironheart's collapse anytime soon, and neither will the people who lived through it.